I guess the big milestone moments. So I won a award for the West Australian a couple of years ago for like a Young Achievers Award. I got a check for $25,000, which was pretty amazing. Didn't even know that there was a prize. I just turned up at this awards night and they were like, "You won." I'm like, "What?" So my name's Kate. I'm from Shecodes Australia. I'm a WA born and bred, but I was actually born up north in Karratha, so up in the far north of Western Australia. And I consider myself still a country girl at heart. I was raised down in Australand, which is just out of Bunbury in the southwest. And I've been in Perth now for probably about 10 years. Definitely part of the furniture here in Perth now. So I'm the founder of Shecodes, and Shecodes, we're a coding workshop for women at the heart of it, but we are doing things pretty radically differently. So we run 1 day, 1 week and 6-month programs with the super ambitious goal of 100,000 women in tech by 2025. So over the last couple of years, we've taught about 5,000 women through these different events, and we're working with businesses to fund them so that these programs are free for women, and getting them through into technical roles to provide extra value back to those businesses. Yeah, so I've been running Shecodes since 2015. So we just had our 6th birthday earlier in March. So it was very exciting, kind of seeing it all kind of come together from where we started to where we are now. So we started off just doing 1-day workshops, and I'm not from a technical background. So I started this because I was super eager to learn to code. And when I was looking around, I couldn't find any communities that were friendly to women or friendly that were to beginners. So we started this as a beginner-friendly, female-friendly activity, and then we've kind of grown pretty rapidly since then. So now we do the 1 week and the 6 month, and we tend to have waiting lists for our programs. We had our last program sold out in about 3 or 4 hours, with nearly double the amount of people who were interested. So I get told all the time, "Oh, there's no women in tech because women don't want to learn to code," and that's totally untrue. There's hundreds of women out there that are keen to learn. They just need to be given those kinds of opportunities. So really exciting to be able to do that more now. Yeah, so I think there's always challenges along the journey. Nothing ever kind of happens overnight. And I think it's always fascinating when people talk about like, "Oh, someone just made it big overnight in the startup world. You're going to be $1 million business overnight." Like, that's not true. That takes 10 years of hard work to be able to get to that point. And there's a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. So for me, we started as a volunteer-run committee that were running 1-day workshops twice a year. We had no funding, and just trying to make everything as achievable as possible. There was one workshop where someone had sent an email saying, "We'll see you for breakfast in the morning." And I read it and I'm like, "We don't have breakfast." So I personally went and baked like 85 cupcakes, muffins the night before so that there was breakfast for people when they turned up in the morning. So there's all of that kind of stuff when you're just trying to hustle to trying to make things happen. And I guess the turning point for us was when we started getting the likes of BHP and some of our other corporate partners on board. And BHP was awesome because they cold emailed us of, "Hey, we really love what you're doing. How can we get involved?" And they've kind of been with us every step of the journey now, suggesting kind of ways that we can strengthen the partnership and increase the partnership. And then we've built a program together, the Shecodes Plus program. So that was really lovely. And I think without the support of those kinds of partners, it wouldn't have been able to be possible to kind of where we are right now. Yeah, so our super crazy ambitious goal is 100,000 women. So we're nowhere close to that just yet, but definitely got ambitious goals of how we get there. And I guess where that number came from, if anyone's curious, is there's a study saying that we need 200,000 more people in tech by 2025 for Australia to stay globally competitive as a country. And so we were looking at that statistic and like, wouldn't that be amazing if half of those were women? So that number does come from somewhere. And so I guess what we're doing in the short to medium term, so we're actually launching a program up in the Pilbara, so back near my hometown, so in Port Hedland. That's happening in May. And we've got 16 or 17 super incredible people part of that program. We're also launching again in Brisbane. So applications have just opened for the Brisbane program, and we're running some stuff over there for the rest of 2021. And then back here in Perth, so we've got plenty of one-day workshops and one-week workshops. So always growing, always doing more things, and kind of at the moment focusing on WA and Queensland, and sort of looking across the East Coast of where we can add value and impact more women. Outside of Shecodes, I've been part of the Space Cube team for 6 years. So Space Cube is where I started, and Shecodes we now run through the Space Cube team. So I'm still part of the ecosystem. In part of that, so I've been involved in the +8 Accelerator program. I've run some of the startup weekends here in Perth, which are super fun, and you should definitely go along to them if you haven't been to one before. And I've been involved in SheEO, which is a kind of new venture fund for female founders. So it's a perpetual fund that as activators, we are radically generous and we gift money into the pool, and then that gets split up into 5 or 6 female founders to go into their ventures on a $0 interest loan that gets paid back to kind of make that perpetual fund keep going. And I'm also a semi-professional hula hooper. So I perform at some of the sort of street performances around the city doing hula hooping. So pretty varied. I do a lot of things, like to keep busy. It's mainly focused around that sort of women in tech and startup ecosystem space. So I guess the big milestone moments. So I won an award for the West Australian a couple of years ago for like a Young Achievers Award. I got a check for $25,000, which was pretty amazing. Didn't even know that there was a prize. I just turned up at this awards night and they were like, "You won." I'm like, "What?" So that was pretty incredible. And I recently won 40 under 40 a couple of weeks ago as well, which is pretty amazing to be recognised. And I am quite a lot younger than a lot of the people who were nominated as well. So really good company. And then I guess on the softer notes is what I'm really proud of is the impact that we've had on real people's lives. So seeing my alumni who were super shy and came into the program and didn't really know what they were doing and had this dream of being in tech but didn't think it was achievable. And now seeing them at the end of the program and they've got jobs in tech, they're coming back as mentoring, they're telling people all about like the awesome stuff that they've done, and just seeing that impact on real people's lives. I think that's the real win, aside for all the showy wins. The real win is the people and the impact. Biggest mistake. So I think there's no real mistakes. There's learning opportunities, and we're going to fail, and that's okay. And we need to celebrate failure. I think that the biggest learning moment that I've had is definitely around pricing. And I don't think any startup founder gets pricing right the first time around. You always go way too low and then end up doing a whole heap more work to try and make it possible. And if I'd kind of had that confidence to back myself and to charge what things actually cost, I think that would have saved a lot of hassle. And then I guess it's all about people as well. So there's a bunch of things that I wish I would have done better in managing people and helping them grow through my team as well. So that's kind of the focus as we grow the business, is how we grow our people along with it. I'm motivated by 2 things, so people and purpose. And I think if I look back at every job I've ever had, it either had to be about people or purpose. So it sounds really corny, but I want to leave the world like better than I found it, and to have that kind of legacy of impact and have that kind of purpose out in the world. And then I want to work with really good people. So having like-minded people around and kind of building those relationships and just seeing them grow, that's super motivating for me. So people, purpose. So I've been thinking about this since I read the question. They're not good jokes, but so whoever said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, they've clearly never tried to reboot a computer. Sometimes you just need to turn it off and on again like 4 times and suddenly it does what you want. And I guess my second terrible joke, what do you call two monkeys who share an Amazon account? They're prime mates. So I think Perth is actually such an awesome place. There is so much going on, and all of those people who are like, oh, Perth is so boring, there's nothing that happens here. There actually is. I think what we don't do well is telling people about it. So I actually talk to my friend in Montreal all the time about what's happening and telling her about noodle markets and street performances. And she's like, oh my God, nothing like that happens here. And Montreal is known for its art and culture. So for her to tell me that so much stuff happens here and we still get feedback from people like, oh, nothing happens in Perth. I think that they're not looking hard enough because there is so much happening. We just really need to get better at telling people on the East Coast, telling people in the suburbs, shouting it from the rooftops. Like, we're actually doing cool stuff. I think the 2 degrees of separation, like everyone knows everyone, and there's going to be some kind of, if you haven't met someone, you know their friend or their sister or their colleague, or you go to the same bar. Everyone knows everyone. That's 100% true. 1.5 million is like a lot of people, but we're still like, oh yeah, Jack, he's friends with my and Jill. Oh, they went to that school together. It's insane. How would I like to see it transform? I think just kind of really growing into finding our feet in the startup tech and startup ecosystem. I think where we really need to invest is in skills development and funding for startups. And I think that we have the potential of being this really cool tech hub in the kind of remote area of Australia. I think that would be really, really cool. And I'd love to see us as a bit more of a destination rather than I think we get complained about of like, last stop Perth, like make it a cool destination that people want to come to and know about and have a little bit of a more global appeal. I think that would be pretty awesome, COVID times aside. I mean, I think I'm a pretty open book. So I think there's not a lot that I keep pretty secret. I guess most people don't know that I am a semi-professional hula hooper. So I do some performances for the City of Perth and street performances. I performed on New Year's Eve, which was pretty cool. And I do classes learning tricks every week. It's a pretty awesome community of hoopers in Perth. I guess that would be the only thing that people don't really know.
How did you get into
So this is one of those things that everyone knows everyone, and that community kind of vibe. So I met Brie, my hoop teacher. She was a member of Space Cubed back in probably 2016, 2017. And she just needed a space to work. And she was like, I've got all these crazy ideas of where I want to go with my hooping and building her business. And I met her and we just did a couple of classes. We used to have hoops at happy hour and just used to have a little bit of a play of who could keep it up the longest at happy hour. And then, we just kind of, I really liked it. And so I went to classes and kind of fast forward to now, and I'm still part of that community. That you're probably your own worst enemy a lot of the time. So just being brave and just taking the opportunities and putting your hand up and saying, yeah, I want to try that, and getting really curious. And just giving stuff a go. I think that's the best way. I never want to be the kind of person that lives with that regret of like, oh, why didn't I do that? Because I was embarrassed or because I thought I wasn't good enough or I didn't know how to ask. I think just be brave and give things a go. And if they don't work, like, let's celebrate that failure. Let's not look at that as a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's just one more thing that you don't want to do. I'm Kate Kirwin and this is Untitled? Just Untitled? Just Untitled. Do you want to do it again? Yeah. Okay. I'm Kate Kirwin and this is Untitled.